Mr Chair.
Jono Naylor.
Mr Chair. Sorry, I almost forgot to speak for a moment. I thought we were doing the mannequin challenge as was laid down by my colleague who spoke previously. But Mr Chair, this is a good bill, and certainly as we went through the Select Committee process, I think it actually, as other speakers have mentioned, sort of brought up a bunch of issues that we possibly hadn't anticipated as we went through. But Mr Chair, I think ultimately it is eminently sensible, as many of the government bills are, of course, because this is a government that is moving so fast sometimes that to the opposition it may appear that we are standing still, but it's one of those things, such a blur, we've got so much on, and this is yet another good piece of legislation. Mr Speaker, I think what we need to do in this kind of context is really look at what it is that we're trying to achieve. And what there has been, as I think I mentioned in my speech on the second reading in this, is that in New Zealand there is a growing trend for people actually to seek out low and no alcohol drinks to drink. Sort of low and no alcohol beer is very much on the rise, particularly since we've lowered the alcohol limits for driving and those kinds of things. And so, Mr Speaker, what we need to do is ensure that when people go into supermarkets, for example, and want to purchase such products, they are easy for them to find. So if you walk into, currently at the moment, the way the law stands is if you walked into a supermarket looking for low alcohol beer and went to the beer aisle, you probably won't find any unless, of course, the supermarket is trying to stick to the spirit of the law, if not the letter of the law. And so the likelihood or potential outcome is that someone will walk out with full-strength beer under their arm, though that was not what they intended to go in and purchase. So, Mr Chair, sorry, in this regard, what we are wanting to see happen is to make it logical for people. Now, obviously, when the initial legislation was drafted, it thought defining drinks by the alcohol content made sense, but actually what we discovered as we explored this further, that actually that description really wasn't that useful. And so by ensuring that people, if they're going and looking for beer or wine or mead, actually find it with the other beer or wine or mead, not sitting in the soft drink section. So, yeah, good old mead. Who even knew about mead being sold in supermarkets? Yet another one of the great learnings that we had on the Select Committee process. I thought that mead was simply something that Friar Tuck made in the Robin Hood movies, but no, in fact, actually, apparently it is sold in our supermarkets. But so if people are looking for those particular beverages, Mr Speaker, they now will be able to find them in the appropriate aisle. The other point that I think is really critical in this is that if something is being marketed as beer or wine or mead, it is entirely inappropriate for it to be sitting alongside the Coke, the Pepsi and the Sprite. So that children who are going past those aisles aren't then actually being subject to the thought of beverages that we would normally associate with alcoholic beverages. So, Mr Speaker, as we went through this process, clearly we had some lessons that were learnt. The fact that there is agreement around the House that this is the right course of action for us to be taking, I believe, helps to reinforce that we've arrived in a sensible place. Mr Speaker, that's the prime part of the sale and supply of alcohol, display of low alcohol beverages and other remedial matters. There are, of course, a few other remedial matters that are associated with that, obviously, particularly around looking at the idea of the companies holding a licence. Again, pragmatic, sensible, ensures that we've got some good legislation going forward, and I look forward to when we can have the third reading of this legislation and put it into action.